morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining. At CIQ, we're focused on powering the next generation of software infrastructure, leveraging the capabilities of cloud, hyperscale, and HPC. From research to the enterprise, our customers rely on us for the ultimate Rocky Linux, Werewolf, and Apptainer support escalation. We provide deep development capabilities and solutions, all delivered in the collaborative spirit of open source.
Hey, Rose. I hope you can hear me.
There we go.
There you are.
Yeah. I had to unmute first, although I was like doing a dance. Yes.
Yeah, nice.
Rocky
Good choice. Good choice.
I think that's a new one. I don't think I've seen the one that you're wearing right now. Is this?
I've had this one for a long time. It's just
okay.
Not a big fan of it. I like the logo.
Oh, like it's a weird material or something?
It's a weird material. It's hot here and it's really heavy, so I just don't wear it very often.
Yes, I understand what you're saying.
Still very hot.
So this is going to be an interesting day today. We are answering questions because we get a lot of questions. We get a lot of people calling in, writing in, chatting in. What is going on? We release a lot of new products and services. And how do you pronounce our name? I was actually listening to another podcast this morning and the guy was like, I'm not sure how to pronounce this. Is it sick? I'm not sure. CIQ? So yes, for all the world to know, we do refer to ourselves as CIQ. So welcome to our YouTube channel. And I have to tell you, Zane, this morning I was on a call with a potential customer and we were having a chat and he was in Poland. And he said, yes. And he said, well, good morning. It was 7 a.m. for me. And I said, well, good afternoon. And he said, good evening, wherever you are.
Oh, boy. Yes.
I was like,
yes.
Zane.
Thank you.
You're known, man. Worldwide.
I stole it from somebody. Who knows?
It's awesome.
We do get lots of fun questions, though.
Yeah.
Some really off the wall questions.
Yeah.
So if you guys have questions, we would really appreciate you posting them up here. Then we will address them because we have some interesting characters to bring on today.
We do. Bring on the characters.
Speaking of interesting characters, look at this crew. Dave, I haven't seen you in a long time. I feel like it's been way too long.
It has been too long, Zane. What is up, man?
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. Forrest, how are you? Living the dream. I know what you're doing.
Can you hear me?
Kind of. A little louder. We'll skip you. Michael, as you take a drink, welcome.
I was going to say hello, and that made me think, Zane, of The Truman Show. In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. I think that's how it went.
Now that you say that, that's probably exactly where I stole it from. Thank you for finally putting that in place.
One of the best films of all time. But good afternoon.
Or terrifying. One of the two. Greg, welcome.
Hey there. How's it going?
Characters.
Hey there, fellers and fellettes. How's everybody doing?
Doing good. Forrest, can we hear you now?
I know. I think he's got a generator going on in the background too. So that means the mystery place.
Nope. Now he's going to go turn it off. Watch. Nope.
I had thought that was not. Usually on my Zoom calls, I'm told people can't hear that in the background. The noise cancellation works well enough. Can you guys hear me now, or is it still loud?
We can hear you. Just speak loud. It'll be good.
Yeah. I will labor to fix it. Give me a little bit.
Whatever. Doesn't matter.
He's on a mission now. You get the idea in his mind. He's going to fix it.
I know. I feel like this is one of those, since it's an ask me anything things, we almost have to ask Forrest why. Like, why are you? What's he doing? All right.
Yeah, he's figuring it out.
So since we want people to ask questions and nobody's posted one yet, so I guess we'll start asking our own questions. And I feel like we've been over this. I know I've been over this with Dave and Forrest before, but I don't know, Greg, if I've ever asked you. Why are you at CIQ?
The mustache is real.
Careful
Yes.
what you ask.
The mustache is real, but I think I would like to know, why are you at CIQ?
Why am I at CIQ? That's an interesting question. One is they told me they would pay me if I came here, so that was important. That was a big one.
That really?
Yeah, I mean, I'm waiting to see the checks.
Okay,
come through.
Sure.
I have been told.
Yeah.
They gave me a whole suitcase of IOUs. So you might want to hang on to that one. Though.
There we go.
One right there. Yeah.
There we go.
Let's see. No, why did I come over here? One. Well, I don't know. It's hard for me to kind of. I'm not going to put them in order. No certain order. One is there's a lot of terrific people over there. Ones that I know, I've worked with for a really long time, and honestly trust. And to me, if they are at a place and they say it's good, I can feel comfortable about it. And that's like an important one for me, is like safety and like knowing that I'm going to be working with good people. I think everybody in their life has worked with people that are a little bit less good or maybe more difficult. And the team of folks here, as I like to call them, the lemmings, they all seem to follow each other from one place to the other. And I desperately have become a lemming. And so I'm happy to follow everybody along. But really, honestly, the way CIQ does business differently was super attractive. So twofold, I've worn a lot of hats in my life, and I continue to wear hats. It's how how you get through life, I guess. But one of the things is support. Like, you guys sort of reimagined what support can look like, and generally that support is a 4-letter word for most people. It's not something you want to have to deal with. It's generally your last ditch effort. Like, if I'm going to get support on the line, that means I've exhausted every other thing. And here, people don't feel that way. Like, we make it an environment where you don't have to feel that way. Like, I have to desperately try and figure it out before I slog through going. So to me, that was a huge one, right? Because if you've been in IT long enough, you feel that pain. Two is I've been manager. Like, I was even VP of technology for a data center group at one point, and I had to deal with a lot of contracts and a lot of vendors, and that was the least interesting part of my job. And so one of the things that CIQ does is they get rid of like having to count nodes and keep track of all this. It's like, I don't have to do that anymore. And so to me, it's like, it's kind of revolutionized both sides, whether you're an individual contributor, right, with support, or you're kind of on the management side, and I don't have to deal with all the annoying like contract keeping count of things. Oh my God, we're 3 months out. I got to start doing all this stuff all over again. It's like all that's gone. And so I am just happy to make people's lives better in that regard.
It's awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm glad, David Rush. Thank you and welcome back. If you don't mind tossing that one up there, but I think this is a great question, and I'm gonna let Dr. Godlove answer this one first. What are your day-to-day responsibilities?
Good question. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
No. I think that's a great question. So I like to think. So we have a fair amount. I think the right amount of autonomy as solutions architects at CIQ. I kind of like to take our day-to-day tasks, and I sort of divide them by like top down versus bottom up. So what are we getting like externally from others that we need to do that, we have to, jump in and fill a gap, versus what are the things that we're interested in and we think will help to drive some innovation forward, at the company, and what do we want to work on and what kind of ideas do we have? So those are the different types of tasks, broadly speaking. So, and then I jotted down, I saw the question come in and I jotted down a few quick notes that I wouldn't just go off on a tangent, because sometimes I do that. But I think that one of our main responsibilities is that we are considered, or I consider myself, one of the first users, one of the first, maybe not even beta testers, but alpha testers of CIQ products. So we get the products, we, run them through the paces, we see what we would like to do with them, and if we can do that. In doing that, we kind of close a loop with product development then, and kind of say, well, this is really cool, but what I'd really like to do as a user is X, Y, and Z. And I think our users would want to do that too. And so we go back and kind of give suggestions back to the development. And then we also do, to some extent, like a little bit of kind of light QA work. So we'll identify bugs, run things through kind of, paces and things, and see what kinds of issues there are, and then go back and work with the developers along those. Another big thing that we do is a lot of training and education, outreach, that kind of stuff. I mean, we do stuff like this. which is part of that. I personally also do a lot of both on-site and remote training. That tends to be mostly Aptainer and a little bit of fuzzball training because of my expertise, but other folks might be training on other stuff as well. And we also, kind of one of the big things that we do too, as far as it's our title, solutions architect, is that we find innovative solutions. So I think a big part of our job is to kind of look at, we draw upon, so all of us on the solutions architect team pretty much have some kind of a high performance computing background or a cloud development background. And we draw on that and we look at all the products that we're developing and we say, okay, well, wouldn't it be cool if we could take and combine these in, this kind of a different way and do this? Or I know that users in my field have this kind of a need. Can I, adapt the products that we currently have to fill that need? And if not, what needs to be developed in order to do that? So we're architecting solutions as solutions architect, and we really draw on our perspective as, past HPC and cloud developers to be able to do that. So that's, hopefully I didn't rant too much and I kept it kind of focused.
No, that's good. That's good. I think you covered a lot, but Forrest, what do you do that may be different than Dave?
Is the mic working now?
It is working. It's fine.
Oh,
it's
thank
the same,
goodness.
but it's all good.
All right, super cool. I honestly could not add a ton to what Dave said there. That was a pretty good description of what we do on the day-to-day. Like you said, we kind of take the toolbox of products that CIQ puts together and work with kind of all the teams involved between product engineering and the customers to make sure that the use cases coming in are aligning with the direction of the product and that customers overall are able to get in the end what they're liaising with CIQ for in the first place. One thing I would also add is that we do pretty frequently end up out at conferences for different types of things, giving talks and stuff like that as well. So I think Dave noted trainings and stuff like that, but pretty frequently we end up out SC, different places like that, giving talks and kind of, boothing, that type of thing. So.
And writing blogs.
Yeah, we do a lot of that as well.
A lot of blogging.
We tend to take kind of the experiences that we have in designing solutions, like containerizing certain softwares, building out certain kind of novel, different, like new ways of looking at things like MPI and some of these, classical tools of HPC, stuff like that. And just to mention, SC is supercomputing, which is the biggest US-based. I think they have an international one as well, but it's in the context is we've gone to it here. It's the largest US based supercomputing conference that they have every year. So, but yes, blogs, stuff like that. You probably see Dave, Jonathan, Brian, Yoshi, and I on the CIQ blog pretty frequently. Like I said, as we kind of publish our findings with kind of both CIQ solutions and kind of the broader spheres of open source software, containers, HPC, data center tech, that type of stuff.
Thank you, Forrest. Yeah, I see you guys not only in the CIQ stuff, but actually in the open source. So Aptainer, Werewolf, we appreciate it. Thank you guys very much. So there are several other questions coming in. These are kind of fun. You want to throw up the next one? What's your favorite ice cream, Rose, and why is it not mint chocolate chip?
Well, it's definitely Oreo cookie because I am not insane. That's all.
Dave? You don't like sweets, I know, but come on.
Yeah, I'm honestly not that big on ice cream.
What's wrong with you, man?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe like a really good kind of vanilla because you could make a what do you call it, a root beer float with it, or you can put it on some apple pie, and that's helps that out. But yeah, just ice cream by itself, I don't know, I'll eat it, but it's not my favorite.
A root beer float. When I lived in Australia, I remember I walked into a coffee shop and I ordered a mocha, and it came with a giant scoop of vanilla bean ice cream. in my mocha. And I was like, this is so wrong on so many levels, and yet it's so right.
I was gonna say, was it really that wrong? It sounds pretty good.
Yeah. I like how you slipped in that humble brag there,
Thank
Rose.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
when I was in
True.
Australia.
That's one of my claims to fame.
I live there. Greg, how about you? What's your favorite ice cream?
I like to not relegate myself to favorites kind of in anything in life. To me, like somebody says, what's your favorite movie? I was like, it's
Pulp
going to
Fiction.
change.
Hello, there's only one answer.
No. From time to time, things change, right? And so it depends on the season, what mood I'm in, what I maybe just ate. So I'm a very open-minded person. I like to try all kinds of stuff.
So do you try to match your ice cream with the actual meal? Are you
Not
a
necessarily,
sophisticated palate?
but I mean,
what's going on here?
I like mint chocolate. I think that is good. There, I've had one where it's like Oreos, like mint Oreos inside of mint ice cream. That's really good. I like vanilla bean, as per Dave there. I like a good Neapolitan. I like a sherbet. I like an ice cream cake. I like cake in shakes. I like generally. I like all sorts, all flavors. Just like I like people. I like everybody. You know.
Fantastic.
Why pick just one?
Why pick just one? True.
Yeah.
Michael, I know how you follow that, but what's your favorite ice
Well, first of all, the right answer is Shawshank Redemption for best film of all time.
You're going to go that over Matrix? Like, to me,
Absolutely.
or
All day,
Hackers,
every day.
like 1995 Hackers. That one was like
Don't care.
instrumental
Don't
in
care.
my
You worked on
development
that
in
movie.
IT.
So, but my favorite ice cream is memory related. Whenever I would go to Texas to visit my grandparents, we always got Bluebell vanilla ice cream. My grandmother always had it in the freezer, and that's my answer every time.
Oh, I thought it was going to be like a medicinal ice cream that helps your memory or something. Okay.
No,
Too literal.
literally, it's not sold in Illinois. It's only sold in some southern states. So whenever we go to Texas, the first place we would go to, if it was not already in the freezer, there's only one Walmart in all of Silver Springs, Texas, and we would go there and get tubs of Bluebell ice cream. So that's my answer.
Well, if you want
That's
something
fantastic.
super Texas, the Dr. Pepper Museum's in Waco, Texas, where I grew up. And you get there and you get Bluebell ice cream, vanilla, and they'll take the syrup and they'll just squirt the Dr. Pepper syrup right on it. They call it a Dr.
that's
Pepper
awesome.
sundae. It is
That's awesome.
amazing.
Yes, it
Wow,
is.
Zane, that sounds like your heaven.
Oh, it is. That's why I went to Baylor. So I could be in Waco. And they have Dr. Pepper hour 3 times a day, 10, 2, and 4. It's on the bottle.
That's
Okay,
right.
now it makes sense. Your love of Dr. Pepper. It's all coming together now.
Exactly. Forrest, ice cream. What's your favorite? Do you have any with you?
I don't at the moment here. I've been away from frozen stores for a little while, and in general, my freezer is a bit packed with all my provisions and stuff at the moment. But if I were to have ice cream in my freezer here, I would have one of those Haagen-Dazs Vanilla Swiss Almond little tubs. That's usually what I find myself reaching for if I'm looking for ice cream. I too am a big mint chip fan, and Dr. Pepper has got to be like my favorite soda as well. When I do drink soda, which is rarely, but
See?
that Dr. Pepper sundae, I'm like, that's next time I'm in Texas, I'm gonna have to make a trip down there. That sounds great.
We will find you one. Absolutely.
All right, Zane, you too.
It's tough for me. So I grew up in Texas. So Bluebell has always kind of been the benchmark, but I got to say Tillamook takes it. It's better. I know that's hard to say, but it is. And mint chocolate chip and then the black cherry it's amazing. It's hard to beat.
Jonathan. Chocolate chip, my favorite. The answer is because I'm not on the webinar. Perhaps Godlove needs to try some lemon sorbet. Okay.
Kind of
Maybe I do.
But it's like
drinking
a
coffee and
tart
thinking about
sorbet?
lemon sorbait just sounds kind of not good right now.
I'm going to be getting a
Oh,
lot
it's
of
hot
ice cream
dog sandwich.
suggestions probably now. And
You know you are. It's
Where-
going to show
where-
up in every forum.
Is a hot dog a sandwich? I think Jimmy would argue that that's a corn dog. He believes everything is a corn dog. So you have that conversation with him.
What did Jimmy say? He says when he's saying they wish they would still sell the syrup by itself. I thought they did.
No,
not
they
sell the
quit
Dr.
selling
Pepper
it.
syrup?
Corporate got onto him.
Oh, it's because Snapple bought them in it. What are the most active? Oh, where are you most active in upstream? Sorry, I'm reading ahead of time. Jonathan's asking, where are you the most active? Dave, I know your answer, but I'm going to let you answer anyway. In upstream or open source, where are you most active?
Yeah, in the Aptainer community, that's where I'm definitely most active, and I'm hanging around on GitHub and in Slack, and just trying to answer questions. Recently, within the past week or two, been a lot of questions on GPU related kind of stuff. Been seeing some ROCm AMD GPU related questions recently, so maybe that's starting to tick up a little bit, that usage. Yeah, maybe that's an insider stock tip. I don't know.
That discussion is coming up a lot. I hear a lot about ROCm in the last month.
Yeah. But I mean, like you said, that should be no surprise. That's where I hang out, is the Aptainer community, and try to answer questions and do stuffs.
And create amazing documentation so that people like me can go actually accomplish something.
I got to update some of that documentation, actually. There's some stuff that is missing, and so I got to carve out some time to update some stuff.
It's a new
version getting close?
We had so the 1.2.0 version of Aptainer came out fairly recently, but we're already on 1.2.2, I think.
Wow.
So yeah, it's new versions come out pretty quickly. But yeah, there's been some changes. Excuse me, and I found some omissions in the documentation, and one thing I've been talking to people a lot about recently is just like software supply chain, and trying to advocate that people, when it makes sense for them to do so, use ORAS to, the OCI registry as storage protocol to push native CIF files up to places like Docker Hub, and then use things like signing and verification of CIF files. And I've noticed, I'm kind of showing people a lot that you can use ORAS as a bootstrap agent in your definition files rather. And when you do that, one of the keywords is fingerprints, and that's like an undocumented feature, I guess, because it's not in the documentation right now. It's documented that you can do that when you pull from like a native, CIF library, but not when you use ORAS and you pull from an OCI registry. So there's stuff like that that's like I keep looking at it, and I keep being like, man, I need some time to go over there and make some PRs and improve some documentation. Now that I've made that public, I'm going to be getting yelled at if documentation doesn't get.
Of course, you are. And task created.
I'm going to be getting yelled. I'm already getting yelled at by people about how I don't like ice cream, and that's a character flaw. And now I'm getting yelled at because I'm going to be getting yelled at because the documentation is not up to date.
Just eat ice cream while you do documentation.
There you go.
2 birds, 1 stone.
Or choose ice cream you don't have access to on a regular basis.
There you go. Greg, what community are you involved in?
Me, I do a lot of stuff with Ansible and Assembler. But for me, I'm not a programmer. I did computer science in college, and if you ever saw any of the stuff I've written, you would say please get him away from any keyboard available. But my contributions are through education. So I do a lot of enablement, a lot of education. I put a lot of stuff, and believe it or not, there's going to be something coming out that is extremely education heavy on Ansible and Assembler in the very near future that's going to be hitting our website. And so I've been diligently working on all that stuff. So trying to teach the masses. To me, that's one of the huge givebacks. And something I heard a friend of mine, Nick, kind of turned me on to this little cast. And the guy was talking about how a lot of times we don't share the things we know because we surround ourselves with like these really smart people and they already know all this stuff, right? Like, what am I going to teach Forrest or Dave, right? It's like, it's not going to happen. But then you remember there's all these people behind you following the same path. And if you share your knowledge, you help teach, it's going to just bring all those people up along with you. So I'm a big proponent of education.
Greg, did I hear you correctly? Did you say assembler?
Oh, ascender. I'm sorry. Like when I start talking fast, my mouth gets all jumbled.
No, that was awesome. I was like, wait, is this a new product? Like I didn't know.
No, ascender. Sorry. Like my brain will start processing so fast that I'll start making portmanteaus out of words as they come out of my mouth. Yeah, I can't help that.
He's just going back in time and writing assembler code.
I did do some assembler, and I never want to do it again.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I did COBOL as well. So
also, sorry,
I wasn't a fan of that either.
New question: what's the oldest language you've written in?
Ooh.
Probably COBOL. Or I don't know. Assembler predates that.
Does.
I can claim to have worked with an ever so tiny amount of Fortran 77 code in the context of different HPC applications that, if you could believe it, are actually built on that type of thing. It turns out like 40 to 50 years worth of work on compilers and things like that. You know, like there's at least one like quantum chemistry program that I'm aware of. I haven't like directly done a ton of like coding in it, if any at all, to be honest. But I have like deployed and been amused to deploy Fortran 77 software into like the late 2010s, 2020s here.
That was going to be my answer as well.
Really?
Yeah, it was. I was working with an organization that was doing fluid dynamics testing on engines, and they were using Fortran 77. And I was like, never heard of it, but if that's what you want me to do, I'll do it. So we'll do it.
Oh, that's fantastic. There is a question specifically for Forrest in here.
Oh.
Thank you, Steve, for the question. Forrest, what technologies are you most excited about these days?
Oh, these days.
This is a loaded question. I feel like this is a really loaded question. He knows where it's going to go.
What technologies am I most excited about these days? At the moment, I would say I am most excited about at the moment, I guess I'm most excited about working with like some of Meta's new AI stuff that's come out, to be honest. I'm tinkering with that at the moment, getting that up and running and kind of containerized in Aptainer, and trying to get it up and running as a fuzzball workflow. So I'm really excited to be kind of tinkering around with that type of thing. Otherwise, the technologies I'm most excited about are probably improved battery and otherwise electrical system technologies for motorhomes and otherwise RVs and that type of thing. So, but in general,
why would you be interested in that, Forrest?
Because I'm watching my power bricks.
Enhance. Time to unblur the background.
What's that?
I was just saying enhance. Time to unblur the background.
I get that. You know, I found, you know, very quickly after I got it here that my one inverter I have won't power the the Dell laptop charger that I have because it's a modified sine wave type thing. My Starlink buzzes really loud when I plug it into that. I've got coach batteries that I made the classic, new RV mistake of accidentally killing by like leaving them, letting them discharge too much. So yeah, technologies, inverters, lithium batteries, solar panels, Cummins gensets, things like that. But related to this type of thing.
There's a whole webinar just on this topic alone of research that should go into this before you do it, and then as you're doing it.
Yeah. So this is the part where we find out Forrest is a doomsday prepper and he's in his bunker.
Kind of.
Kind of sort of. Well, I'm in my RV at the moment at Yellowstone National Park.
Oh, that's awesome.
Rolling around. I got out of Glacier National Park about 2 weeks ago or so, and I've been actually out in this thing for about a month now, a little over a month, as of today or yesterday or so. But yeah, so that type of technology is very exciting. But in general, like related to our type of sphere, one big thing that I'm kind of doing at the moment, I've worked a lot with Fuzzball at CIQ. And while I'm very excited to find that Meta's Llama stuff is much easier to get up and running than some of our previous open source LLM stuff this year, they really have kind of got it set so it just kind of flows pretty easily. I've worked a lot with Fuzzball, but at the moment I'm starting to work a little bit more with like CIQ's other solutions, like Greg and others have kind of touched on, like Mountain, Ascender, things like that. And so I'm really excited to kind of be tinkering around with those, especially the automation with Ascender, and seeing how I can, after a while of kind of doing certain things manually, kind of start to work to improve the processes that we've got here on the SA team within, like I said, the context of being able to use our CIQ tools and kind of use that as a springboard to learn a little bit more about them deeper. So excited to see those technologies. Like I said, excited about AI, and very excited about anything I can do to make my power situation more secure.
Such a fascinating conversation. I feel like we could just keep going on that for a long time. In fact, Forrest and I have talked about that quite often. So
it's probably best you not even get me started. I'll just,
I know.
Yeah, we've got a webinar to run.
So good. We did have a question that popped in earlier, I think from LinkedIn. If we can throw that one up about OpenELA. There we go. CIQs being one of the founders of OpenELA, will CIQ have a specific role in OpenELA? For example, would CIQ take an HPC and AI-related package from packages, while, for other example, Oracle handles cloud-related packages? It's a good question. I want to say yes, but I don't think there's a specific role that anyone's trying to play. I think it's just kind of what the community needs and who is working on it at the time. I don't think it's actually been laid out to that level yet. I'd be happy for anybody else to comment on that as well, but I don't think it's been defined in that way, and I don't know that it will be.
So that actually sounds like it would be probably more within the domain of one of the SIGs, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So I think that I don't know how the SIGs are going to fit into OpenELA, if they will. I kind of think they're their own thing to some extent, right?
More of a downstream thing.
Yeah, right. A good question. Yeah,
That's a good question.
I think it's definitely worth keeping in the archive to make sure that if there's any updates that we put that out.
Absolutely.
I have
Thank
a
you for the question.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was just saying thank you for the question. How about it, Rose?
Oh, David DeBonis. We'll do this one real quick first. What can go through glass without breaking it? Sun. The sun, the rays.
Light.
Light.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi. My gaze.
Although ultimately just another form of light, because radio waves.
Let's just say things in the electromagnetic spectrum.
Well, and the CIA's mind control stuff. That
I'm talking to the amateur radio enthusiast.
I'm not sure if that's light related or not. It's something. It's on some spectrum.
You have a foil hat behind you, Dave.
Oh man.
Microwaves.
Okay, this question is actually for Dave, but anyone else can kind of jump in. But so I know that you really have like a breadth of experience with Aptainer, and you do mostly that. But I do believe that more recently you've been getting into playing around with Werewolf a little bit more, beginning to understand it, helping build clusters with Werewolf. Like, what is your experience with that? Like, have you found it inviting? Have you found it easy? Like, what are the, little kinks in the road, things that you've learned that you can share with people around about being kind of new to Werewolf?
Yeah. So, that's a good set of questions. Yeah, because you could kind of like, I feel like I'm a Werewolf newbie, kind of getting into it and trying to figure it out and stuff. So we've been having some discussions about this within the SA team recently around the idea of sort of branching out and making sure that we're having not just a depth of knowledge, but also a breadth of knowledge across multiple different technologies. And I think that for me in particular, and I think probably a lot of people are like this, it's hard for me to just like say, I'm going to go learn this. I actually, it's more important for me to be like, well, I've got this goal. I got this thing I want to do. And there's this new tool that will help me do that goal. And so that's really how I learn stuff. And so recently within the, that kind of framework, I've had a goal, just to spin up an HPC cluster in a cloud resource and be able to kind of spin it up, just on demand and take it down on demand. And I had that goal to do some testing within the Slurm cluster. And so because of that, I worked with, Brian Fan, another one of our brilliant solutions architects who does all kinds of great work. He put together some Terraform and some Ansible, and also Jonathan Anderson, worked a lot on this as well. Put together some Terraform and Ansible scripts to spin that stuff up on one of our cluster environments. And then I was able to get in and, mess around and figure out a few things about Werewolf. I will say that I wanted to learn Werewolf, or I've been kind of struggling to learn Werewolf for a while now. And one of the biggest hurdles I've had to do this is that Werewolf is not like Aptainer, where it's like all you need is a VM and boom, you can do whatever you want. With Werewolf, you need something you can pixie boot. And so that's got to be either you have to kind of create some VMs that you can pixie boot, which is not the easiest thing to do, or you've got to have some real hardware laying around that you can pixie boot. And so one of the cloud providers that we use quite a bit is actually a little bit lesser known. It's called Vultr, and we use it specifically because you can allocate bare metal instances that allow you to pixie boot them. And so that's one of the cool things we can do is play around with those with Werewolf. And so, yeah, I have a lot more expertise in Aptainer than I do in Werewolf at this point in time, but yeah, it's really cool. I've found so far that it's the container knowledge that I have has really lent itself to Werewolf. So it's kind of containery in the sense that, like, if you understand containers, you kind of understand how to build node images, and deploying them is pretty easy. It's kind of magical the first time you restart a node and you just watch it coming up, and all of a sudden it's got all the, the new software that you've pushed out to it and stuff. So yeah, those are my kind of like scattershot impressions and my ideas about Werewolf.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
Kamel, thanks. C and Fuzzball be deployed on a Slurm-based cluster? Oh, can Fuzzball be deployed on a Slurm-based cluster? Forrest, I think this is on you, bud.
Dave, I think I'm actually going to pass this one to you.
We're just going to...
The person internally
like hot potato.
Looked a little bit... Well, recently, as Dave noted, we've been looking into this a little bit on the SA team, and Dave just gave an interesting presentation and such about this topic. So, Dave, I'm going to pass that one to you.
Okay, yeah, cool.
At the moment, we're working on it, but if, my answer here is, we're working on it. This is kind of, something we're doing research and development into at CIQ. But Dave, like I said, I know you've done some specific stuff, so if you have anything to add kind of from your experiences recently.
Absolutely. So yeah, I was just talking a minute ago about spinning up Slurm clusters on demand to be able to do tests. Well, this was the kind of testing I was doing. I was like spinning up Slurm clusters and then trying to get pieces of Fuzzball to work within the Slurm clusters and kind of trying to see how they interact and everything. So I will say, I'm trying to think about how to best answer this. Like, we have ideas for how Slurm and Fuzzball might interact, but this is pretty early at this point in time. We've not actually implemented any kind of like plugins, or we don't have anything going on as far as that right now. But we're in kind of the I guess the solutions architect kind of phase, where we're like taking things and slapping them together and seeing how they work and playing around with them and everything. We have ideas about this. I don't really know like how, I don't want to like say that this is the direction we're going to go in, and then it ends up being like a totally different direction. So yeah. But yeah, not right now. It can't, they don't like you could deploy Fuzzball on a Slurm cluster if you wanted to. But they don't really interact in any way, and we're kind of like thinking about how that interaction might work.
Thank you for the question. Let's go to
Vaccine. Is there a public Git repository for Fuzzball?
No, not yet. It is still under development, so we have not open sourced any of it yet.
That's a good question, though. We get that one a lot.
Absolutely.
Jonathan Anderson, what's your preferred programming language? And what's the next language that you'd like to learn and why?
I'll go first.
Pick somebody. There you go.
Yeah. I am always trying to be more versed in cloud technologies, and in almost every conversation that I've seen, I feel like Go is the language that always comes up. So that's absolutely what I want to learn next. I feel like Zane knew that was coming, but I think the challenge becomes twofold. One, obviously, just kind of dealing with that between my day-to-day duties. That's one thing. The other thing is I tend to learn things better if I've got a project that I'm working towards. And so I really want to find an excuse for a home project. I do a lot of things like in my own home. I've got Raspberry Pis set up throughout my house. I might use that to test things out or run things in my home network or whatever. If there's a nice Go-based Raspberry Pi project, then I might do that in my spare time. That'll force me to learn and actually retain things. I'm really just having a moment here as I'm talking, like, I should do that. That's
There's
probably
be
easy
something
enough
for
to
Home
Google.
Assistant, right? A Go-based project
exactly.
for Home Assistant. There has to be. Somebody
sure.
has to have started it. Come on.
There's got to be. So yeah, that's my answer.
Craig?
Oh, people aren't going to like this. I did a lot of Windows stuff.
Fortran.
I know you're not supposed to say Windows stuff in the past, but there's this open source or at least freeware programming language called AutoIt, or some people say AutoIT. And I have done so much stuff in there that I can basically do it in my sleep. I even wrote this for a data center. It like pulled all of the branch circuit monitoring, their entire infrastructure, pulled it all into an interface. And I know that's been in production for like a decade, and it was all written in there. So please don't judge me. But and this is arguable. Hopefully, this is like arguing about religion, whether Ansible is a programming language or not. But I like writing playbooks because I have just done it so much now that I can whip stuff out so ridiculously fast. It is kind of my go-to as far as like if I want to script something, I can actually script it faster in Ansible than I can like in Bash or, you know, like PowerShell or whatever flavor of operating system you happen to be working on.
So you're a YAML guru. That's what I'm hearing.
No, I can put two spaces in front of something. So yes, I can do that. But no, it's my preferred go-to for sure.
Very nice. Dave, I think I know your answer too.
Yeah, I mean, so, okay, the actual question is preferred programming language. So I don't have a preferred programming language. I mean, it's like there's different, you got to choose the best tool for the job, right? And so it kind of depends on what you're doing. In the past, so the programming language that I'm probably the most proficient in is MATLAB. So in the past, I did a ton of MATLAB to the point where, and it was the first thing I learned. It was the first programming language I learned, to the point where when I got into some other programming languages, I saw all these strings, I saw all these characters, and I was like, what are you doing with all these strings and characters? I don't understand it. And then, you know, when it was like, here's how you actually deal with numbers and here's how you deal with arrays, I was like, what? That's so clunky. Like everything that I've ever, you know, basically I thought like all programming is numbers because I was in MATLAB, and everything I thought about was just like arrays of numbers and, you know, linear algebra and just matrices. And to the point where like I can do image manipulation probably quicker and easier in MATLAB than I can in Photoshop, right? Just by reading the thing in as a three-dimensional matrix of RGB values for each pixel, and then just do what I want on all the pixels and then, you know, bring it back out. I also have a lot of fluency in a language which is basically dead called Tempo, which is a real-time programming language, which allows you to do things like present stimuli on CRT monitors, which are locked to the refresh cycle, and use inputs like voltage traces from an eye tracker watching the position of, you know, somebody's eyes to do things like make solenoids go and do stuff like this, and all this within like real time, within like a single process cycle, which is like a single millisecond and stuff like that. I did a lot of that. That's not a transferable skill. So like at this point, I mean, I do some Go. I do a lot of Bash just because that's the proper thing to use for a lot of the stuff that I do. I do some Python when that's the right thing to do. I mean, just the right tool for the job, right?
I think it's interesting because you have a different perspective. I mean, everybody else are pretty much computer scientists, so we have a very different view of an actual scientist. That's cool. It's cool that you have a very different view of programming and where you've actually used it and come from. So
computer science is actual science, by the way.
It is, but it's different. It is, but it's different. Forrest, preferred language, one you want to learn?
I'll go ahead and be that guy and say my preferred language is Python at the moment. Just because that's what most all of the AI stuff I'm working in is. I'm also just kind of a Python fan. It's a fun little language to work on stuff in. I'm a former sysadmin, so I used to use Python, Bash, that type of access of scripting languages quite frequently to put together like different just like sysadmin-y type. I'm sure everyone's familiar with different scripts, monitoring, that type of thing. So I'm a big fan of stuff like that. Kind of not necessarily a programming language, but I do a lot of like container design. I do a lot of like workflow design in YAML, not necessarily in like Ansible, but in, for example, Fuzzball. And so kind of that.
Oh no, did he freeze for everybody or just me?
I think it's for everybody.
Oh, it's for everybody. There we go.
We lost you for about 5
next
seconds.
satellite.
Forrest.
Now you're back.
You guys lose me for a second.
Yeah, we lost you. You're
5.
good.
Where was I at?
Fuzzball. You said fuzzball. Then you lost
Oh
you.
yeah. Yes, I'm a big fan of, like I said, Python and Bash as a former sysadmin, kind of the scripting languages, that type of thing. And then not necessarily a programming language, but I'm also a big fan of kind of how it all comes together in kind of that, Ansible workflow, etc. type sphere, YAML workflow codification, basically. I don't use YAML or I don't use Ansible so much in that sphere. I'm usually in Fuzzball, kind of putting together like HPC workflows. But overall, just kind of that sphere of taking what somebody needs a system to do as far as their research and putting together from, end to end, all the scripts, whether that's Bash or Python or whatever, their code, etc., the containers, and then finally a workflow that orchestrates all that is kind of my favorite thing in programming. I had to pick a preferred language, it's Python these days, and generally I'm kind of looking forward to learning a little bit more about that sphere of things in ways that I haven't before, kind of like loading and using AI in terms of that, being able to like at the moment I'm doing a lot more than I have before of like interfacing with models on a code level in Python, using their APIs, using their scripts, that type of thing. So I'm looking forward to kind of seeing a little bit more how that sphere of things goes. I have a feeling I'll probably end up on some Go programming at some point, which is would be really interesting to learn. I know we have a few people on the SA team who have done quite a bit of that and have kind of learned quite a bit of that in the context of the SA team. I've never been like a massively heavy software programmer type guy, but I've always enjoyed like C and that type of thing, specifically C and not the subderivatives like sharp, plus plus, etc. I've always kind of enjoyed C for the simplicity, so I'm kind of and just for like just the inner, I like Python because it's good for certain things, just like Dave says, there's different tools for different purposes, but I've always enjoyed C for just like the raw just interface into the system that you get. So I'm excited to kind of see what I've kind of heard about Go, which is that it's a combination of these much higher level, easier to use languages like Python, while still giving you the capacity of like a systems level programming language like Go. Like C. So I'm very excited to kind of dig into that a little bit more as well.
Thank you, Forrest. I'm going to make Greg really happy and say I've written more stuff in Perl than anything else. Greg
This
Kurtz, not
admin.
Greg Soul. Different Greg. Sorry, Greg.
No, I cringed as well. Don't worry.
I know. Everybody should. See, I liked it. I just said I wrote more in it than anything else. Except maybe Java. I think we had another question. It was a good one. Michael, I'm going to leave this one to you.
Yeah, so the question is, I'm new to AWX and have not been able to install it successfully. Will there be an installer for a sender on Kubernetes, or will it be easier to ask for support from CIQ to set it up? So the answer is yes and yes. And I can say that with confidence because that's what I've been working on for the past couple of weeks or so. So one of the things that I think can be added is to the documentation, because there's very limited documentation. I've been able to find blog posts, for example, on how to install AWX on various platforms, but I haven't been able to find a single place for, hey, if you want to install this with external Postgres, if I want to install this on top of EKS or GKE or AKS, whatever. And that's ultimately what we want to do here at CIQ. So I'm taking things one platform at a time. And you can just, what will ultimately happen is you'll be able to choose, hey, I'm running on this flavor of Kubernetes, and I'm actually using an Ansible playbook on the command line with a script to install a sender. So the short answer is yes. We're working on that, and I don't want to put a hard timeline on that, but my goal is to get that out in the next week or so, at least to start with. But loud and clear, that's one of the things that I've always wanted with AWX, and that's one of the things that we're going to do with Ascender for that very reason. It comes from hard experience from myself, likely for Greg, likely for Zane, and for Anthony, and probably a multitude of other people as well. So the answer is yes.
And yes, we can help you with that as well.
Yes.
Thank you for that question. This looks like a Godlove question. If you were to redevelop Aptainer again, what language would you use?
This is a funny question because we did that. So, I mean, that was a major, that was like a major thrust of, Singularity Aptainer. That was basically, let's see what the, I've got my little, I don't know if you can hear, but my little girl's screaming daddy upstairs right now. Hold on. Hey, baby, it's okay. I'm in a meeting. Love you.
She's telling you what language you need to learn next.
Yeah. So, okay. So when Greg originally wrote Singularity, which became Aptainer at Lawrence Berkeley National Lab, he kind of wrote it in like a mixture of C and Bash. And what he did is he made like his own kind of like almost like library of executable calls you could make in C that you could call them through Bash, so that it would make it easier to write it in Bash. And, it was good for what was needed at the time. And then some other community members got involved and started to do cloudy kinds of stuff, and they did that in Python because that was kind of the right tool for the job at the time. But so then Singularity ended up being written in this like kind of big mismatch of, C, Bash, and Python. And so we got to a certain point and with the development, and it got to the point where we wanted to do things like implement network namespaces and networking with an Aptainer, and we wanted to get a little bit more advanced. And when we got to those points, we realized that there was already these tools out there in the container community, which would allow us to do that. Like CNI, for instance, was the thing that we needed to use for the network stack. And there was other things as well that we wanted to do that had already been done, and we didn't need to reinvent the wheel. And we certainly didn't need to rewrite all that stuff in C and Python and Bash. So we made the decision that we really, to be integrated with the container community, we really need to rewrite the code and go. And so that was the main, thrust for quite some time. I believe it was, I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to go through and look. I think it was the 2.0. No, it was the 3.0. The 3.0 release of Singularity at the time was a complete rewrite of Singularity in Go. So that was a huge undertaking. And it was very, very hard to go through that process. I was in the thick of it during that, and we're not going to do that again. So Go is good. We're happy with that. We're not going to rewrite Aptainer in another language. We made that decision specifically for Aptainer, and aside from the fact that it was a lot of work and heartache and sadness for everybody, we're just not going to do it just because that's we chose the language, and that's the language that we wanted to write it in.
Thank you, Cedric, for doing that.
Putting it in. Yeah, Cedric did a lot, and he deserves a ton of credit. But I think he'd be the first to say that it wasn't just him. There was a lot of other folks involved.
Absolutely, huge effort. Thanks to everyone involved in that. I feel like we missed a whole segment of topics that have nothing to do with computers or IT, like coffee, barbecuing. It's like a whole nother webinar. I think between Michael, you'd fill an hour just on barbecuing. Coffee, maybe 4 hours or 5.
Tell me you're an old guy without telling me you're an old guy.
Barbecue and coffee?
Yeah, for hours. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You've hung out with Michael. You know what I'm talking about.
So
Michael's the oldest 30-year-old I've ever met.
I was going to say, we've got opinions about barbecue.
Oh, yes, we do.
Oh, David Rush asks a terrible question. Pineapple on pizza. I don't know why this is so polarizing, but it is.
Yes.
Rose, pineapple on pizza?
It's 100% yum.
Absolutely.
Delicious.
California.
Magical.
That's why I knew you were going to answer that.
Yeah, with a little dipped in ranch. Yes, man.
Awful.
Yes. Dave, your face. I don't know what's going on with your face.
You lost me there with the, it's
a total California thing, but you cannot knock it until you try it.
With the pineapple?
Yes.
Pineapple and ranch
pineapple,
together?
cheese, sauce, bread, ranch. Yes.
No, I'm not
so
feeling that.
Gross.
It's so good.
I've done pineapple barbecue.
That sounds good.
Maybe.
I'll pass
But on pizza?
I actually make a pineapple barbecue sauce, to be honest.
Mm.
Yeah. So I typically roll a peach barbecue sauce, but sometimes peaches aren't in season, and I can get pineapples because there's airplanes. So pineapple barbecue sauce.
Oatmeal, pineapple, bacon, jalapenos. Oh, yeah. Jeffrey, are you saying that pineapple on pizza is also a Canadian thing? Because I feel like it's just stolen from California.
No, it was a Greek immigrant in Canada that invented the pineapple pizza.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it comes with Canadian bacon.
You. So we're saying California stole it from Canada. There we go. As long as I know who to blame for ruining pizza. Yeah, I said it.
Why is it pizza in general that has all these not that I'm calling the origin story that you just suggested apocryphal, but how come it's pizza in general that has all these apocryphal origin stories, like pizza originated here and this type of pizza originated there, and then there's people who fight over whether or not they invented pizza or not, and you're like, what's with pizza that it people have such opinions about it?
I think it was a ninja.
Dave.
It's probably universal.
The same thing
food.
could be said about Dr. Pepper, because people who fight over where that got started too. Just saying.
They can fight me. That's all I'm saying.
They can fight you.
Okay, I can say it. Greg fights blue hedgehogs.
Is that right?
Just want to throw that in there at some point.
I think I'm wholly misunderstood. I think big hedgehog has spun the narrative in that direction, when honestly I'm just an innocent technologist trying to live my life and constantly being interrupted by
Don't mess up my Dr. Robotnik reference.
Oh, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's been totally spun the wrong direction.
Has it?
Tails and Knuckles are miscreants. You know they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Look at the people he surrounds himself with. It's ridiculous.
I was able to shoehorn that in. So that's it. My job is done.
That worked. You got it. don't see any more questions. At least I don't see any more on YouTube. We don't have any more questions. Rose, do you have any more questions?
I don't, man. I think I'm good.
I mean, it's not going to lead into another hour or 2 hours worth of
No,
conversation.
I think we're done. So I guess my final question is not a question. It's a comment. You are amazing and wonderful and beautiful. And I thank every single one of you for being here and all the cool things that you are creating. And Dave, the things that you're breaking. Thank you. And reach out to CIQ, CIQ.com. We would love to chat with you about all the amazing things that we are doing. We got the werewolf and the Rocky and the Aptainer and the mountain and the fuzzball and the ascender and all the things. And we would love to support you in your environment. So reach out to us, leave a comment. We always come back and answer all of them. And thanks for being with us. You're amazing. Have a great day.
Bye, everybody.